Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 4 of the anime series Snow White with the Red Hair. And every single episode of this series thus far is better, that much better than the last. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. Of course, we're seeing Shirayuki going in for this apprenticeship, sort of the precursor testing to see just who amongst the people applying will be able to actually be, living in the court and going ahead and studying the herbalist nature, all that kind of stuff. And she runs into Ryu, this little boy that we've seen a couple of times before. I like that his character is somewhat of the crux of the episode in that he's very closed off and he's very sort of not familiar with social conventions. He's very sort of unnerved being around Shirayuki and everything, especially with the red hair. Everyone's attracted to the red hair. It's something so abnormal, for them to see and everything like that, and just the beauty of her personality and the vibrance of the way she carries herself and conducts herself, it very much rubs off on you. And he's kind of nervous, so he takes off at the start of the episode. But sure enough, she's in the testing phase. We meet Chief Herbalist Garrick, and of course, being a Star Trek fan, the first thing I think of is a Cardassian with the same name. But this one looks completely different. And she's kind of kooky too, which I like, because of course there's that whole aspect of the test involving the sweetness of some of the sort of poisons that plants can create within themselves. And rather than just sort of taking it down, jotting it down on notepad, Shirayuki, realizing this, completely undoes the entirety of this internal garden in this little greenhouse with Zen's help. Zen ends up, coming, sort of poking around, see what's going on in the middle of the night, because there's this one greenhouse that's still lit up. Of course, it's going to be Shirayuki's, and they end up inadvertently locked in because somebody has come up and shut the door on them. And I'm fairly certain it's probably Obi, this character, who's keeping a watchful eye even now on Shirayuki, even though they, cast off that official who set Obi on her tail to begin with in the previous episode. But apparently he's still been sparked by her personality, much as Ryu and everyone else. And everyone else who encounters her will do, and he's keeping tabs on her. So I think he was probably snooping around, and when Zen showed up, he just figured, let's have some fun, lock them in for the night, see what happens. And, or of course, there was some speculation that somebody was trying to, kind of switch the tides in the testing. Somebody was feeling unfairly disadvantaged or whatever, and wanted to try to get somebody else, sent packing instead of themselves, or something along those lines. So of course they're going to be looking for whoever this was who locked them in. But it's funny because, of course, when Garrick shows up the next day and is there to find out, how exactly Shirayuki progressed with her studies of these plants, and whether or not she was able to detect that plants were, mismatched and that this poison effect was happening, all we find out was actually outlined by Ryu, which was a nice little footnote. But I love that. She's incredulous that, okay, Zen's sitting over here. He looks like he's half-baked because he's spent all night digging and planting and replanting all this stuff with Shirayuki. And then Shirayuki makes, the excuse, well, the only reason he's here and he helped me along was because this could be something that benefits him someday. And you got Zen sitting over here like... trying to keep a straight face, because of just her pointed reaction to that question. Why is Zen here after all? But there is some concern that Zen could try to extend his princely powers and, affect the decision one way or the other. But he's like, no, leave it to her, because she'd hate me. She'd never want to come back. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to influence the situation at all whatsoever. And Garrick breaks out laughing at this point, and it's just like, even her assistant's kind of like, Chief, you feeling okay? You're losing it over here. But, of course, because of just that prowess that Shirayuki has, not only the identification of what was poisoning the waters in this particular greenhouse and affecting these other plants, but to go that nth degree of, taking sort of personal responsibility for something that isn't her responsibility, for the betterment and the well-being of the plant life in question. She, completely reconfigured the entirety of it. So, of course, she passes with flying colors. And this is where she's formally introduced to Ryu, who is going to be sort of her boss, I guess. Of course, you have the chief herbalist, but he's also an apprentice to the court, an herbalist apprentice, and she will now be under him effectively. And he feels very uncomfortable about that because of the age difference. He is a child, and he spends seemingly all his time enclosed indoors, just studying, and he's studying primarily poisons and their effects and everything. And it's interesting to see that he's kind of like the black sheep. This cat comes in feeling queasy, and he wants some kind of quick medicine. But if it comes from him, if it comes from that kid Ryu, no, I don't want anything to do with it, because he has this, I guess, because he studies in the poisons and everything like that, they think they'll get sicker or whatever it is. Shirayuki herself is pretty peeved, getting right up in this guy's face. You're not going to talk about this kid like that and everything. And you got Ryu then sort of scolding Shirayuki for getting so unnerved about it, but she's like, don't be a fool. And this stuns him. It's the first time I think somebody's actually taken an interest in how he's thinking and feeling and calling him on it. And you have Zen kind of trying to mentor him a little bit to understand Shirayuki. She's pretty straight-laced. She'll pretty much come at you with what she's thinking and feeling, bold-facedly. And this kid's wondering, is she upset with him? Zen's just like, look, if you have to ask, just go straight to the source. Ask her flat out, did I do something to make you upset and all this stuff. The relationship dynamics unfolding, just getting that much more intriguing to me, and I love it, And this all coincides, of course, with Garrett giving Shirayuki the medical sort of documents and logs of Zen. And when she starts to read about what he's sort of been doing to himself to build up that poison immunity that we, had referenced episodes back, she is very much just heartbroken for all the pain and all the suffering he's been through. And Ryu sees this, goes to get Zen because he doesn't know what to do. He's at a complete loss. Brings Zen back, and Zen is, he's there to comfort her as she reads through the rest of it, and I guess explain to her what it was all like and what it was all about, and just bring that, sort of human shouldering need, because this really breaks her heart. It really just, I think there's a level of both sadness and frustration, because it's like, Zen, why were you doing this to yourself? She understands it. He is a prince, and he is going to have to be sort of, the butt of threats on occasion. People will try to go after him on occasion, and he's got to be prepared for that. And the only way he could do that is to, consume these poisons and let his body build up the natural faculties to fight it. So that way, if he ever was poisoned, he would not succumb. And all those years of suffering, it's like, once again, the strengthening of the bond between Shirayuki and Zen in that moment is tantamount. And it just feels like the entirety of this series circles around them and the light of love and life that is in between them. But as we see, because of the relationship with Shirayuki and Ryu, she goes running to him to comfort him and to be there for him, which is absolutely flabbergasting to him. I mean, he's so nervous just trying to get out her name, and you have Mitsuhide over here like, champion, come on, say it, you can do it. Because she just wants to be able to relate to this kid and open this kid's world as much as her own world is being opened, and everyone working in tandem as a group, as, not individuals, but like as a family, a burgeoning family. And this bond is then born between Shirayuki and Ryu respectively, and it's just that much more awesome, because it's like you see his eyes open, you see him go from scowling, cowling, and having his head down, and like just he actually genuinely smiles in the light and the warmth that she represents. And so all of these characters, you know, they're all on this mutual journey. They're all walking hand in hand, and they're all individuals, but they're learning to embrace each other and, you know, sort of be propelled by each other, be inspired by each other. And I just love it. I loved this episode. And it's like I said, every single episode of the series thus far has been that much better than the last. And I just really loved the warmth and the feel. The scoring of this episode, once again, was just beautiful. The animation is beautiful. I love those sort of character portraits when they focus on one character or the other, whether it be Ryu in his shock and just, again, the scowling nature, his smile toward the end, Shirayuki with her tearful eyes in reading Zen's, you know, medical history and the poisons and everything, to Zen's realization that she is so touched and affected by that, to her smile at the end, looking down upon Ryu and saying, hey, it's okay, man, we can be friends. All of that stuff, all of the emotion. There's a warmth and there's an affirmation about this series, about the episodes, as I've said previously in previous episode discussion videos, that I just love. Rubs me the right way every single time, and I can't wait to see where we go from here. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 4 of Akagami no Shirayuki-hime, or Snow White with the Red Hair, and whether you loved it. If you didn't, why not? You know, anything goes in the comments below, and I love having the conversation with you guys. So otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.